there, welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. Come right on in, friends. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I want to thank you right off the top for some of the great emails you sent to us and letters through what's known today as snail mail. Your encouragement, I can't tell you how it just keeps me going. And I thank you for it, because I do believe we are dealing with the most important subject for our nation today, and that's our homes. If you get those right, they're going to vote right. You know, they're going to raise their children right. It'll help the whole school system. Everything, when you get the family right, you get the home right. Sometimes I have to laugh at these parents today that just take all their orders from the children. You know, you've seen a parent talk to a toddler and say, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and then we're going to do this, and then, okay? Like, you're asking the kid if the plan is okay. My mother, you know, if you got in trouble at school, she would always say, well, what did you do? You know, that would be the first question. So there's a lot to do to get the homes right, get the parents right, you know, and get the children raised in an atmosphere of love, and the Lord make all the difference in the world. And that's what we promote on this program. And I have a guest today who's very much in harmony with that, but she has a ministry to tell you what it's like when the home is not right. And her name is Linda Mobley, and she wrote this book kind of through her son's eyes, I Hate My Life. And you know, when I first picked it up, the thought occurred to me, I think there's a lot of teenagers who feel this way. And it's because of domestic violence. It's because of a lot of yelling in the family. And it sends the kids spiraling downward. And they get with the wrong crowd, and they lose their interest in school and learning and all. It is devastating. And this happened in Linda's home, but let me tell you something, God is using it as far away as Africa and places like that. And I'm anxious to talk to her about that. You know, do African families deal with the same things we do? Apparently they do. I want you to meet her, the author of I Hate My Life, and it's, you know, it's talking about how a family can go so wrong, and that's one reason we're here. And then Stephanie and Tiffany are, don't you love it when these two are in the kitchen? They have way too much fun. They're going to make a fabric pumpkin, and I haven't seen it myself, so I'm anxious to see it. Before we do that, though, let me again offer you Debt Proof Living by Mary Hunt. I've offered this several times, and there's a reason for that. I want you to have the abundant life. I want you to have a great life. And part of that is being out of debt. And sometimes kids grow up in America and they don't know anything about it except a credit card. And I'd like to steer you the biblical way that says, you know, the borrower is the slave to the lender. And we got a lot of slaves in this nation for sure. This lady can tell you how to live debt-free. We'll send you this book for that gift of at least $18 to the show. 1-800-229-0059 is the number to call for your credit card, your debit card, or the address is on your screen. Homekeepers, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. And we will get it out to you. Okay, now let's join these girls in the kitchen. Stephanie and Tiffany, what a duo. And they're going to teach us how to make a fabric pumpkin. Take a look.
It is a great day when Tiffany comes over from Nook and Cranny and shares something with us that you're not going to believe how easy this is. It's ridiculously easy, and it's so adorable. She has a DIY workshop in Pinellas Park, which you want to come to, I promise. She's also doing pop-up markets once a month. So I want you to go on her Facebook page, which the information will be on the screen at the end of the segment, and just check it out. You want to come for the pop-up market. You really want to come for a workshop. Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco. I promise you, get a few girlfriends together and just come have some fun and walk out with something that you will absolutely adore and be so excited about. But today she's brought something totally different for us. It's something, I don't know, did you see it on Pinterest?
Pinterest, that's where I basically get all my ideas.
Favorite sites.
I spend the night looking at my phone getting ideas.
Super easy.
Yes.
And so fabulous.
Easy.
So what are we doing today?
We are going to make fabric pumpkins. And these are real trendy right now for centerpieces for the fall. One that's really popular and super expensive if you buy is a velvet pumpkin. So you can go out and buy velvet material. I've seen people take sweaters, so they go to a thrift store and get a sweater.
I
so
love
really
that. Like
fun.
the cardigan material.
Yes, or a cable or a knit, like a cable knit ones, really pretty. So you can use any kind of fabric. I mean, if you even wanted to cut up an old T-shirt, you could do that too. But we just got fabric from the fabric store.
Adorable.
It's just a chevron. It's great for Thanksgiving. It's perfect. Now with this, the hardest part I think is cutting out your circle. So what I did is if you'll see, this pumpkin is rather small. That's a 17-inch circle. So you need a big circle if you want a big pumpkin. So I cut out the circle, and I cannot sew to save my life, but I can sew on a button and I can do this. So this is something everybody can do.
I can darn a sock. No.
So basically you just need some thread and a needle, and you're going to need your fabric, and then you're going to actually start, it's almost like, I don't even know what the proper term is because I don't sew, but I would call it like a weaving.
A weaving stitch.
Yes.
Let's call it a weaving stitch. It's not probably right, but.
And we're just going to go as close to the edge as we can.
And you're
all
about
the way
an
around.
inch apart.
About an inch apart. So you want to make sure that you're...
So this is fast,
This is super fast. And as you're going, try not to pull in your twine there.
Yeah.
And as you're going to go all the way around. You're going to start kind of pulling it in and bunching it up almost like a sack, like a drawstring kind of thing. So you're just going to basically do this all the way around. I'll do a couple more here. And like I said, you want to get close to the edge as possible, because when we get to the point that we attach the stem, the less
don't want
amount
all that bulkiness
exactly,
up there.
the less amount showing,
This
the
is
better.
super simple.
This is so easy. And if you have, older kids that are able to use a needle, this is great for them to do too. So as you get around, before you get right back to where your starting point is, you want to leave a little bit of an opening. And this is where it comes in. It kind of reminds me of my grandma. You could put beans in here, but I kind of thought that'd be wasteful. Coffee beans would smell really good, but
we don't want to waste coffee beans.
No.
No.
I have a million of these plastic bags around my house, so I thought, let's stuff it with plastic bags. So before you close in your little hole here, you're going to just stuff it with the bags, however many can fit in there, with the size circle that you've cut. And then you want to just finish off your going around here. So we'll do that really quick.
So fabric, thread and needle,
plastic bags. You could also, the craft stores sell like pillow filler. You can use that too.
Pillow filler. And then you put cinnamon, we talked about it, maybe put a little cinnamon in there with the pillow and make it smell really good. Even pumpkin spice.
Exactly.
That would be good.
So the next thing you're going to do is just kind of pull it tight so it's got like a little closure up here. Now you want to leave a little bit of an opening for your stem. Now the stem, you can get really creative. I actually took a stem off of one of the pumpkins my kids got at the pumpkin patch. Don't tell them.
Two of my favorite girls.
Yes. You can use a branch out of your yard. We've got those. You can use a cork. You can really use anything.
Which you can buy at a craft store.
You can buy corks at the craft store. Yep. You can really put anything you want in there. So after you've kind of tied it in a knot to secure it, then you're going to take whatever stem you choose, and we're going to actually use a real stem. You're going to take your hot glue gun.
Okay.
And we're actually going to glue, I'm going to tie this a little tighter here, glue the stem just right to the top of the material here.
This is so
It's so easy.
Cute.
Do you have scissors?
Yeah, right here.
I should know that by now, right?
Right there.
Thank you. So then you're going to glue this to the top.
Again, something out of your yard. You could use so many things,
So right now you could have used a shirt out of your husband's drawer, your bags you used for walking your dog and scooping everything up, and a branch out of your yard. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
So now we've got that stuck on there, and now to kind of cover up where we just gathered all the material, we're going to take some twine, and we're going to just glue it around the edge there.
Cute.
Now
My goodness.
You could go up the.
Look at this.
You could go up the stem a little bit if you want, but because I'm actually using a real pumpkin stem here, I don't really want to cover that up too much. Now be careful with the hot glue.
Yes, because
don't do what I just did. Get it on your fingers and burn your fingerprints.
Although I don't think I have any fingertips left from hot glue, so I may have blisters there, and it might be okay.
So then you just go around it however much twine you want. And you don't have to do the twine if you don't want to, but it's just totally up to you. And then after you're finished, you're going to have a super cute pumpkin. And you can, because you used bags, they're easy to shape.
I love it.
This would be a fun little teacher gift.
Yes.
Something to do at Thanksgiving.
How super simple is this? This is fabulous. I love having you. I'm begging you all, please go on her Facebook page, check it out, go do a workshop. I love having you. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.
I know for sure that some of the gals I've known who have gone to these craft workshops, I'm telling you, they have such a good time. So I would highly recommend it if you're in the area. And I want to highly recommend my guest, Linda Mobley. Welcome to Homekeepers.
Thank you so much.
So glad to have you. She has written the book, I Hate My Life. I don't think she hates her life. This is from the viewpoint of a teenager whose life spiraled downward and really ended up in prison. But let's go back to the beginning. You were raised in a Christian home, and you married a man, and you thought we're going to build a Christian home here and be happy ever after.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then something that you hear a lot about, and it's got a title, domestic abuse, kind of reared its ugly head, and you were the recipient of some pretty, not just harsh words, but
physical as well, yes.
How long were you married when the first physical hit came to you? Do you remember?
I would say probably around about 9 months. Yes.
Were you just shocked? Because this was nowhere in the courtship, right?
Oh my gosh, no it wasn't. I was shocked. The first incident was being choked, and choked to the point where I couldn't breathe. I was very afraid. I couldn't believe he was doing that.
And what was your response?
After crying, I went on the porch. I called my aunt and I told her I needed to leave because there was something wrong with him. And I didn't want to live in fear. And I did leave.
And what was it that convinced you to come back?
He would follow me from work and say, I'm sorry, give me another chance, I'll do better. He even went as far as to call the elders and preachers and have them talk to me to give him another chance, he'll do better. So at their insistence, I went back. I didn't want to go anymore. Yeah.
What did you learn there? Should the elders stay out of it?
Well, it wasn't a good choice, that's for sure, because it got worse. I got another black eye, and I could have lost my eye. We ended up fussing and fighting over the children, and I lost my children for a while. And of course, later I got them back, but what a horrible thing to go through.
But the point of your book is what happens to a child growing up in this atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so you hit the first time and the church and all, and I'm sure they were, you know, encouraging you to forgive and all this. Looking back, what would you have done?
I wouldn't have married him if we want to go way
well,
back.
that's going way back. I mean, after the first punch.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't have never gone back. I regret it because it could have been fatal.
Yeah, you know, your books really made me think, and I was thinking, okay, what would I do? I kind of came to the conclusion, being totally ignorant, that I would forgive him one time, and after that, hit the road jack. Mm-hmm. I thought, well, I would want that sense that I really tried. But what I see with you and other women caught, and it is a cycle, isn't it? A vicious cycle.
Yeah.
That you have the mindset that I want the family together. I want him to have a daddy. And so this would catapult you to the next outburst.
Yes. It was a nightmare, and it got worse and worse. And the fact that I got black eyes, I was choked, I was cursed, doesn't really matter as much as how it affected my children. I didn't know it was going to affect them. And I did know even while being pregnant it would affect them. But I learned later that it does affect them while you're carrying them, because they feel what you feel, just as they eat what you eat. But I didn't know that at the time. And I want to save other families from going through that. It's awful.
So, of course, you're in a situation where you're probably living, walking on eggshells.
Exactly.
And not even noticing what it's doing to the kids?
Not at all. I'm trying to get through it, live through it, and still be a good mom. But it was affecting them in more ways than I ever realized. And I certainly regret it, because they don't deserve that.
Well, that's why you're here. We want to put the light on it, yeah. We want to put her website up. And if you just joined me, she wrote, I hate my life, and that resonates. I think you speak for a lot of young people that are being raised in violent homes, and if they're not violent and they're yelling at each other all the time, it's a horrible atmosphere for a child. And so a ministry has kind of come out of this. Yes. Why did you write the book? I don't think you really had any idea where it was going to go, did you?
No, I didn't.
Why'd you write it? And from the child's viewpoint.
Okay, the Holy Spirit told me to write it, share it, so other women don't go through this. And after a period of time, I finally did. And when I did, the Lord blessed it. But I have to say, when I was writing it, I cried and wailed like a baby. It broke my heart, reliving all of this. It's so awful. And I regret staying, like I said, because I have damaged my children. And it damages them to the point where some children can't shake it because it's in them. And they can end up being statistic for society in the criminal system, and that's not good.
The website's on the screen, but also there's a workbook with this. Now, how does that fit into what you're doing? Okay,
the workbook can be used along with the book, and it can become an educational tool, so you can have classes.
Is that for the children? Or?
Yes, and adults. Talk to them early about it so that they will be more equipped to handle the situation if it should arise. And boys need to be trained about this as much as girls, because they usually incite it. But for this to continue is not healthy. And according to statistics, domestic violence numbers are rising across the country. The article that I read said that it's an epidemic. It's as common as apple pie, but that shouldn't be the case. We should have happy homes, not homes filled with domestic violence.
And in this book, you're giving voice to your own son.
Yes.
At what age did you see a difference in him? I know he's quite young. He kind of lost interest in school and his grades. And why wouldn't they? Yes. If they're living in chaos?
That's a very good question. One day he said to me, I hate my life. I guess it doesn't matter that I'm a kid, but I've been telling my teacher about what's been going on at home. And that broke my heart. And I knew then I've got to do something to help him as much as I can. So fighting in court didn't help. And it has been a nightmare. It really has. And he's been so scarred. And I keep telling him that things are going to get better. But he experienced a lot of pain, both physically and mentally.
And that leads them to the wrong friends and starting substance abuse and all. And he did end up in prison. And I understand he has a son with a girlfriend. And that's had a pretty good effect on him, hasn't it?
Well, that did kind of wake him up that I need to do better. I need to be strong. I need to be a good dad because that's important. And a good father goes a long ways in a child's life. And he didn't want him to be a bad example for him.
So is he trying to be everything that he didn't have?
Yes, yes he has.
That he didn't have in a father. Now this has given you a platform. I read on your website some reviews from where you've spoken and for the book. And there was a letter or an email or from some missionary in Liberia?
Yes, yes.
And what did that say? What was that about?
Well, I was very surprised myself, but he said he wanted my material to use over there because it's common in Liberia. Domestic violence is an everyday type of living, and he'd like to administer to the women and children and the men about how wrong that is and how damaging it is. And so I was glad that I posted it, and I'm very happy to know that on the other side of the world, it's being used.
Yeah, now in America, it's wrong, and you're going to go to jail for it if you guys beat up your wives, and you should. But there are some cultures where it's okay to hit your wife, and there's a lot of them.
Unfortunately.
There's a lot of them around the world that it's okay, but it's not in America. And so that's what really kind of grabbed me, that this missionary needed this material.
Yes. And it hasn't been talked about a lot because a lot of people feel that what happens at home stays at home. But when you're being threatened and your children are being damaged, it's not okay.
There are those, too, with good reason probably, who fear for their lives. You spent some time in shelters, right?
I did. I never thought that would happen, but I had to get out. And I wanted my children to be safe as well.
What is that like, to be in a shelter?
There are a lot of women there and children, and although you might be angry and frustrated, you have to be very calm. You can't raise your voice to the children. You have duties there for cooking, cleaning. It's very confined because it's small, and there are a lot of people, but I thought I was doing the right thing by getting away from the turmoil.
How long a period sometimes were you there?
I was there maybe a month, maybe two, not very long.
And then you went back?
Yes, and then I went back.
You went back. What is your message to women today who are watching? You've been there.
Yes.
You know, what would you do after the first hit?
Leave and don't go back. Don't tolerate it. It will only worsen. And a lot of times it can be fatal. Someone could actually die from it. So.
Oh, they have?
Yes. And actually I thought that would happen to my children and I didn't want to be a statistic. So I decided to leave so we can have a happy life.
What was interesting, I also read reviews for your book. Kids in the 5th grade
Yes.
wrote, I don't know about your speech or your book or something.
Yes. They read the book and they didn't want to do anything the rest of the day but talk about the book. And unfortunately, they came from homes where domestic violence is prevalent, so they can relate. They've seen it in aunties and uncles, and it really had an impact on them. And I was so glad to have that opportunity to speak to them, to let them know there's a better life than doing drugs or fighting or being in trouble with the law.
What's so sad is that's all that some children know.
Oh gosh, it is.
I had a guest on once who thought that everybody yelled, that's the way family life operated. I read that this one 5th grader, I guess he read your book, because there were a couple of areas there they were reviewing. 5th grader started, I think, smoking pot, and after he read it, he decided to quit.
Yeah, he did. Isn't that great?
That is wonderful.
Changing lives, that's a very good thing.
But 5th grade?
Yeah, a bit early, for sure.
What do you want to accomplish with this ministry? Is it basically just putting a spotlight on domestic violence and what it does to everybody?
Yes, it's very damaging. It should not be tolerated, especially when you're pregnant, because I learned that because of the stress, and actually it's called trauma now, that I was going through, it affected the baby to the point where the umbilical cord gets tight and tight around the neck. And they could die if it's not watched carefully. I almost lost my first child that way.
He was born at 7 months, right?
Yes, both children.
And you think that was just from the stress of the marriage?
Absolutely, without question.
As I was looking at your book, I wondered, this man went to church and all that. In fact, he hit you on the way to church, right?
Yes, yes, he did.
How did you process that? Didn't the gospel get through there at all?
It was shocking. The children were in the car, and that hurt me real bad that they saw that. And to get punched in the same eye, oh no, I was hoping I wouldn't lose it. And of course, it swole, and it teared up the whole time. I couldn't even stay in church. I had to leave and just tend to my eye. It was devastating.
Were the police ever involved?
At one point they were, and he was told to come to class, but he didn't. He refused.
So a man can hit his wife when the police are called, and are there choices there? You can go to jail or you can go to the class? Or
well,
how's that work?
Back then, we're talking at least 10 years ago, the emphasis was not as important then as it is now. And I'm so glad that the light is finally shown on how bad this is, how women are treated and how children are treated. So there is more respect and authority now in the system now for lives.
Yeah, and we can thank God for that, because I remember a day when they said, well, this is a family situation, we don't get into that. Well, when people are beating each other up, we need to get involved.
Absolutely.
And I thank you. You know, it's an unusual thing for you to write a book from your son.
Yes.
But it does have a powerful effect, and I pray the best for that young man.
Thank you.
Jesus can take the most broken, and
so true.
I mean, he had a bunch of people following him that really had some interesting backgrounds, and boy, he made something stellar out of them.
He did.
And I appreciate you coming and sharing your story. And the sad thing is, I have a sense that we've been talking to women, and you're experiencing this, or maybe this is your story. Maybe you're on the other side of it now, but there's a lot of scars there. I tell you, Jesus can heal those scars. Jesus can give you purpose in life. You turn your life over to Him, it will make all the difference in the world. And God can restore your family, but it's up to us to come to Him. His Word promises it, and He can turn everything around when we really cooperate with Him. I hope you will join me next time, friend, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.